For your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. Thanks for choosing us. Now we start with the flag bearer of the opposition National Democratic Congress, John Dramani Mahama, because he says he will drastically reduce the size of government he voted into power in the upcoming elections. He says he will run, quote, a lean government, highly effective and efficient government of no more than 60 ministers and deputy ministers, end of quote. Mr. Mahama also says he will launch a renewed fight against corruption. He also promises to stop illegal mining in forest reserves. There's more in this report by Blessed Suga.
It was a night for John, but he came in the company of Jane, his running mate. And with less than 200 days to the presidential election, the NDC flag bearer has kick-started what he calls the Mahama Conversations, a dialogue with the media and other stakeholders, which will afford him the opportunity to sell his nation builder plan.
In addition to my digital conversations, I intend to have a number of such media engagements, not only in Accra, but in other parts of the country. And this is why I'm happy today to be with you again to sustain the conversations about our dear nation, Ghana.
Just when the questions kept raining on from the media, John Dramani Mahama attempted a response to them all, touching on economic restoration to an intensified fight against illegal mining and also vowing to crack down on corruption.
Their will to fight corruption was there. We even retrieved monies from some of those involved in JIDA. We retrieved as much as 50 million Ghana cedis at the time. And so the track record is there. And I can assure you, if you believe that I was imbued with the Father for All syndrome, it has been exercised. And it's been exercised because it's a demand by the people of Ghana. The people of Ghana are asking for accountability. Galamsey is a problem of compliance. We have all the laws. We have everything. It's the enforcement that is the problem. And the enforcement is a problem because those who should be enforcing it are part of the problem. Today, DCs and ministers all have small-scale concessions, and I indulge in Galamsey. And that's why I said, any person who serves in my government, if you want to be a small-scale gold miner, go and be a small-scale gold miner. If you're a DCE, be a small-scale gold miner. Don't take public office under my administration. And so we're not going to countenance having any of our ministers or our political appointees involved in small-scale gold mining so that we can enforce the laws properly. This is not just a promise, it's a commitment. I will reset the economy and Ghana will be open for business for 24 hours a day.
For many years, the National Democratic Congress has criticized the mode of implementation of government's free senior high school policy, with the New Patriotic Party, on the other hand, accusing the opposition party of undermining the policy. However, providing clarity of his party's position regarding the policy, John Mahama noted that the free senior high school policy is here to stay.
My position on free SHS is known. In 2015, I launched progressive free SHS. That's what the Constitution says. The only difference between us and MPP is the approach. We thought that we should put the infrastructure in place and we should do the necessary preparation to absorb the free SHS. And so we started with day students. We made it free for day students. And in the second year, we absorbed 120,000 students on the free SHS. Nanado himself lauded me. It's there in the media. Just, if I had my phone here, I would Google it. He said, Nanado lauds Mahama's free SHS. It's there. UNESCO, congratulated us for launching the free SHS. How can a person who launched free SHS be against free SHS? And so it's a political gimmick that is played by our opponents. Free SHS has come to stay.
In the end, John Dramani Mahama remains hopeful that this year's election will go in his favor. And having learnt the bitter lesson of losing the last election, John Mahama says his team will police the system with vigilance as he invites the media to support the cause if they can. Blaise Ogan's report for Joy News. Kempinski, Gold Coast, Accra.
But how feasible are some of these promises? Let me bring in Professor Michael Ayamga. He's director of the West African Center for Sustainable Rural Transformation, UDS. Thank you for your time here on Newsdesk. I also have Professor Lord Mensah. He's Associate Professor of Finance at UGBS. Thank you for your time here on Newsdesk. Now, I'll start with you, Professor Lord Mensah. Running a lean government, how feasible is it?
Yeah, good morning to our viewers. You know, running a lean government indirectly means, you want to cut down on expenditure. And as a country, we've gotten to a point where we cannot afford to continue to expend unnecessarily, which at the end of the day, if you look at the government sector, that is what attracts what we call goods and services on the expenditure side of our budget. And clearly, if you look at the goods and services and the way we've been jumping the numbers over the past years, it tells you that, yes, indeed, we have been running a country where we spend, but then we don't see, the outcome of the expenditure that we are running. And so if you have a candidate who is promising, a lean government, then I can tell you that, yes, it's in the right direction, because one way or the other, it's going to build up into reduction in expenditure.
We're looking at costs being being cost effective. We know it can bring down expenditure, but then in running this government, how feasible is it?
Yeah, I think over the past years, we have been, talking about, bloated government, size, which in the end is not building up into, economic growth. Because if you look at, the current administration, they started with about 110, ministers. And you ask yourself, what has been the outcome of all those ministerial positions? To the extent we created, about 5 additional ministries. Talking about Ministry for Special Initiative, Zongo, Ministry, Ministry for Senior Minister's Office, and all those. And clearly, these are all ministers that you'll find it to be kind of duplication. If you look at the functions of Ministry of Special Initiative, for instance, most of their activities falls under Trade and Industry Ministry. And so you ask yourself, why do we have to create kind of a parallel, ministry that will attract, funds? Because the technocrats that we find at, the Ministry of Trade and Industry could have run, those activities that were assigned for Ministry for Special Initiative. So, we don't need those parallel ministries as I've indicated. And, running a lean government means that you may have to look at all the ministerial portfolios and then look at the ones that can run, concurrently within the same, ministry. And if you do that, you come to appreciate that you can reduce even the ministries to up to, let's say, 60.
Now let's look at John Mahama's promise of ensuring that the free SHS policy is here to stay. We're looking at the cost implication of ensuring this policy is still running. There has been several calls for a review of the policy. Do you think it is financially feasible to keep this policy running?
Yeah, for me, anything that will, one way or the other transfer, money to the, citizens indirectly, I go all out to support it. The reason being that if you leave the free SHS money for the political elite, it's going to be a free money available for them to use, which, it will more or less compromise their bargaining power. And those monies, definitely they will find activities for them. So if you have, a free SHS, which is one way or the other, squeezing, the public purse, but then in the end, trying to have, our citizens educated up to a certain level, then of course we have to support it. But then when you talk about the cost, there's going to be a long-run returns. I mean, there's no social intervention that does not come with a long-run, dividend. And I believe that, continuing with the free SHS over time will bring in the necessary dividend that the country, requires of it.
Now let me bring in Professor Michael Ayamga. He is Director of West African Center for Sustainable Rural Transformation, UDS. Thank you for your time here on Newstakes. I'll start with your overall thoughts about downsizing government and the pledge by John Dramani Mahama to ensure that he runs a, quote, lean government. How feasible is this?
Yes, thank you. Good morning to our viewers. It is always very pleasing and it sounds pleasant to imagine that the government is going to be lean. And you are immediately thinking of the savings you are going to make if you are running a new government. But it's always easier said than done. And we are always quick to draw parallels with other democracies, well-established democracies that have been on for hundreds of years. The institutions are well tested and they kind of know what is going on where at any point in time. In our system, we have consistently changed the ministries, the agencies, and so on. So they never actually get very good at doing what they are supposed to do. So the efficiency in therein is very questionable. So I am always in for an optimal government. I don't think that a lean government is precisely the right thing to do. Of course, the kind of market we are having as a cabinet today is problematic. It's a very large one. That one, there is no running away from it. But I am looking at a situation where our system of government puts the ministry at the apex of everything. All approval sometimes has to come from the minister. So if you have a very elaborate program at the base and it tapers into one ministry, then you end up having gridlock up there. You have a lot of bureaucracy slowing down things. So it is not always efficient. So it's easier said than done. I would want to wait and see how that plays out, but I would rather go for an optimal size of government that is able to deliver what we want to do or what the government seeks to do, rather than just say, I want to save money. I think our problems in this country is not because the government is big. It is other issues which I think Mahama rightly outlined. The leadership and the desire to fight the wastage that is associated with these ministries. That is the problem. I don't think it's the emoluments of ministers that has driven us where we are. It is the wanton dissipation of state resources, mismanagement, and so on, also by a large number of ministries. That is our key challenge here. So I would rather we go for an optimum size of government relative to what government wants to do. It is always a balancing act. If we are reducing number of ministries, then you have to create a quite some sizable agencies, special aids, and other things to handle programs. At the end of the day, they bring everything to a ministry for approval, where you have everybody going to Accra and hovering around the ministries, paying money here and there and lobbying here and there to get things done, because a few people have to take action for things to happen. So it's a balancing act. I would rather sit down, look at the programs I'm having, and then decide a cabinet size that allows me to deliver it. I want to agree with Prof. Mensah that a cabinet of 60 or so, yes, can be that optimum number, but I don't want to be very religious about it, that it must be a lean one. I would like to wait and see how President Mahama, if that happens in January.
Let's look at his... Let's look at his thoughts about the free SHS policy. He says it is here to stay, but then there's always been concerns about the need to review the policy. What's your thoughts about it?
You see, any country or any government that fashions its policy after extractivism, that is mining natural resources to develop, must focus on human capital development, because eventually, when those minerals run out, it is the human capital that you are going to depend on to keep the economy and the country going. So when you are doing that, I don't think anyone who understands economics will tell you that, free SHS a useless endeavor, or spending huge amounts of our resources on education is useless. We are only worried about the quality, that we are increasingly falling behind in terms of the kind of human capital development paths we pursue. And we have largely engaged in populism rather than investing strategically and ensuring that the education we are delivering to our next generation can stand the test of time when they eventually take over the helm of affairs. So there is no one, I don't think Mahama or any other person has been against free HSS. I have been a very vocal critic of it. I'm a beneficiary of free education because I'm from Northern Ghana. So there is no way I will be against it. I'm against having that kind of apartheid system where you have very rich schools and then very poor schools, and then you now compromise the process in such a way that very wealthy and very rich people attend very good schools for free, and you leave the poor people who are under trees and then to attend it for free. I don't think that is equitable, and I don't think that that is a development. So yes, you have to seek to get the quality at least close to uniformity, so everybody everywhere is getting education, not just attending school for free.
Let's look at his promise to deal with illegal mining. He pledges that no member of his government will be involved in small-scale mining of any form. It's coming at a time where there are concerns that people in government are actually financing illegal mining activities in the rural communities. Do you think it's feasible?
You see, former President Mahama yesterday, I think, it sounded like the returning CEO who perhaps was the last successful CEO that the shareholders can remember. So the level of articulation and the preparedness with which he delivered his speech captured many people. And I, for one, I was particularly excited about how blunt he was, going straight to the point, and indicating that it is because government functionaries, ministers, GCEs, and so on, engage in illegal mining of galamsey. That is why we are not able to tackle it. And I think that couldn't have been stated any better by anybody. The reason why we have failed this fight is because the people who will power are the ones who engage in it. So we can launch thousands of operations, give them even Delta Force operation, excavator or anything. We are not going to stop it until we get the actors who will power withdrawing from galamsey. So I think that the former president was explicit, straight to the point and spot on when he said no one in his government will do that. Once we have the government agencies and policy actors, the influential people in our society out of it, then the security agencies will have the confidence to deal with whosoever is involved in it. So I largely agree with that stance, that the fight for galamsey must start from within the Jubilee House or the Flagstaff House, whatever we want to call it. And if the Flagstaff House stays out of galamsey, galamsey will stop being done.
I'll come back to get your thoughts about the fight against corruption, but let me bring in Lord Mensah at this time. There has been concerns that illegal mining is negatively impacting our economy, but then people in government have also been tipped to be financing some of these illegal mining activities. Here's a presidential candidate coming to make a promise to us that should he be elected, he would ensure that members of his cabinet or his government are not involved in illegal mining. Is this feasible? Professor Lord Mensah, that question is to you. Professor Lord Mensah, you have to unmute for us to hear you clearly. But let me come to Professor Michael so that we get his thoughts while we get Professor Lord Mensah on. Let's talk about corruption and the fight against corruption. every government has pledged each time there's campaign election to fight corruption, but then it appears to be quite difficult for every government. John Dramani Mahama is also pledging that his government will fight corruption. Do you think it is feasible?
I used to hold that view, but now that you have a different dispensation to compare with, you can say that in the past, at least under President Mahama's government, there was an effort to fight corruption. Because even while they were still in office, you had some of the government appointees in court, some eventually getting jailed and others being forced to resign because of certain accusations and certain court rulings. And we saw that happen. We just have to compare that with what is currently happening, where our institutions tend to be doing the cleanup job for people who are under investigations. You have the president being the exonerator in chief, defending people with millions of dollars under their beds, things that are unsavory, things that are immoral. You have the state agencies, and especially, I will always say, the Office of the Special Prosecutor, with all its resources, going to court to make embarrassing mistakes and getting people to walk off the hook. That is not fighting corruption. And if you compare now to what used to prevail in the past, I think that we have fallen far behind. It's like it has almost been normalized and institutionalized in government, and it is your right to plunder once you are in there. I think Prof. Mensah is back. Yes.
Is back, and thankfully he joins us now. Prof, I was asking you the thoughts that you have about John Dramani Mahama's pledge to fight illegal mining. He says that his government will ensure no member of his cabinet or his government will be involved in illegal mining. Do you think this can work?
Yeah, I think the former president will be able to fight Galamsey if he's able to determine exactly where sources of financing comes from at the local level campaigning. You know, at the local level campaign, you're going to get this Galamsey, workers. I grew up in a mining area, and I'm from mining area actually. So I know what happens there. The reason why the current administration, couldn't perform is that there are some key actors, right, within the administration that, doubles in, Galamsey, which you cannot take it from them. And most of the DCs within the Galamsey area, takes advantage of the situation, and also they themselves have mining site. And to some extent, they connive and collude with, those who are mining. And remember, they are coming from the same environment. So what happened is that before Operation Vanguard will get to the place, the DC is the more or less a rep of the government, at the district level. So before Vanguard gets in there, they know, when they will get in, and then when they will be dispatched to the site. And as a result of that, they relay information to the guys at the site. And most of the time, before the Vanguard operations, get there, they are gone. And so these are things that happens on the grounds in reality. And that is why I'm saying that if, the former president will be able to fight, Galamsey, they should look at how, they finance their campaign at the local level. So when you go to my area, for instance, who are those investing in campaigning over there? If you source monies from, these people, obviously their payback will be when, you get power. And at the end of the day, they will have access to mining site to mine to repay themselves. And so, before he can do that, he should be able to look at how campaign financing is done at the local level. I don't want to comment about the national level because it seems to be a national problem, but that would be a different topic for another day. But before the former president will be able to find, tackle Galamsey heads on, he should look at how, campaigns are being financed at the constituency and the district level as well.
Thank you so much, Professor Lord Mensah, and also Professor Ayanga. We'll leave it here. Let me bring in Dennis Miracle Aboagye. He's Director of Communications for Dr. Bawumia's campaign team. He joins us here live with more. Thanks for your time here on Newsdesk. Now, John Dramani Mahama is pledging that his future government, should he be elected, would ensure no member of his cabinet or government will be involved in illegal mining. He feels, or small-scale mining. He feels that's the way to combat illegal mining. What's Dr. Bawumia's vision to fight illegal mining?
We discussed some of these pronouncements from the former president. When he says that, what does he mean? Is he saying that he knows of a member of this government that is engaged in illegal mining? For which reason he says no member of his government will be involved in illegal mining? That thing is illegal. So why do you even or think of it being passed? Or I think, like, why anybody even think on a member that was illegal? So really, what I think
Dennis, you have to position rightly for me. I seem to be losing you. You have to position rightly. Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. So
I think the point.
Yeah. He says his government, he would ensure that no member of his cabinet or government will be involved in small-scale mining.
I am saying that he says that's a panacea to the Galamsey situation. Is that what he's saying?
Yes, he is. He says that is how he feels he can fight illegal mining.
How did he handle the Galamsey situation when he was in government? When his Minister for Environment, Mahama Yarega, said that the fight against Galamsey is not going to work and that it's deep-necked and that the way it is almost impossible. What did he do about that? Why are we allowing the former president to speak as if he is now coming into government? He was president. Illegal mining didn't just spring up in 2017. Illegal mining in Galamsey was during his presidency. So how did he manage it? Is it a case that when he was president, he had members of his government involved in small-scale mining, and that is why he thinks that this is a new approach? We are not scrutinizing the former president well, and we are allowing him to get away with so many things. Dr. Mahama Bawumia has been very clear. He says that he believes these people who live in these mining communities are not just interested in the economic venture of mining, but they're also passionate about it because that is what they've been doing or they've seen their entire life. And so his approach is to properly resource small-scale miners and improve the community mining scheme by providing them with financial resources through the establishment of the Mineral Development Bank, which will ensure that small-scale mining and this community mining scheme would safely mine in these communities. In that case, anybody who wants to be part of the mining venture will have an opportunity to do it legitimately, safely, and appropriately. And he believes that when this is done, it would reduce the zeal for illegal venture in bringing this mineral out of the ground. That is Dr. Mahama Bawumia's strategy in dealing with that. And that is quite clear. He's spoken about this when he met the small-scale miners in Tapa. He's spoken about this when he met the small-scale miners in the Western North. That it's difficult for us to fight illegal mining or Galamsey if we do not create an alternative way of safely mining for these people. And so let's set up the Mineral Development Bank. Let's build the capacity of the small-scale miners. Let's decentralize the licensing regime of small-scale mining. Let's get the traditional authorities a lot more involved in this. And this is something that has already been started. As we speak, the Minerals Commission is established in most of the mining districts, and a lot more are being put up. The Minerals Commission has set up a lot of regional officers, and they are still expanding. And Dr. Mahama Bawumia is saying, let's improve upon this by getting the local chiefs, the traditional authorities involved a bit more, by building the financial capacity of the small-scale miners, by expanding the community mining schemes, so that these people who hitherto would have gone to do illegal mining can be part of this community mining scheme, and then they can mine safely, mine appropriately, without it affecting our environment. That is the solution. It's been quite clear about that.
Thank you, Miracles Aboagye. Now, away from this, more than 500,000 candidates are sitting for this year's Basic Education Certificate examination, and that's according to the West African Examinations Council, WAEC. They say that government was making arrangements for the release of the remainder of the examination fees to the council. Now, we'll hear from WAEC in a bit. First, let's take you to some exam centers and hear from our correspondents on the ground.
Because when they come to these areas, in the rural areas, the school too is not in a good condition. And we're also running a new curriculum. And the resources that are used to guide the students are not available. So sometimes we even have to go to the internet and then we're getting most of the resources to guide them. This deprived area, teaching and learning becomes very difficult. For example, even preparing the candidates, they don't have lights in the school. Nothing like that. And when it comes to situations like this, sometimes you need to go for extra classes with them. And then most of the time, the contact hours are not enough for them to prepare. So we manage it, even though the condition is very bad.
How confident are you of your students as the BECE start today?
Yeah, my percentage of confidence is 95%. Yes, because we have 12 really hard and then we are prepared for it.
Above all the challenges, you believe your students will do well?
Oh yes, surely.
I'm feeling a bit nervous because this is new curriculum. The government have changed the system of schooling and we don't even know the subjects that are coming. Like, we don't even have past questions to learn on because it's new curriculum. So we are feeling a bit nervous.
You're feeling a bit nervous, but are you confident of today's paper? What paper and paper are you writing today?
English and Arabic.
How prepared are you?
I'm well prepared. If only what I learned will come, because we don't know what will come. This is the first batch and we have no past questions to learn.
Let's go and zoom across the regions and speak to our reporters on the ground. We start from the Ashanti region. And Aboagye Adam is our man on the ground. Sana, what do you have for us? Nana, you have to position rightly for me so that I can hear you clearly. I'll bring in Rafiq Salam. He's been monitoring some centers up in the Upper West region. Rafiq, what can you report? Rafiq, if you can hear me, what can you report? I know you've been visiting some centers this morning. Unfortunately, we can't hear you, Rafiq. You have to position rightly for us to get to you. Now, we're giving you updates across the regions. We're finding out how Basic Education Certificate examination is going in the regions. Today, we know over 500,000 candidates are sitting for this year's examination. And Aboagye Adam joins us this time on phone. Can you tell us what is happening across the regions?
Firstly, the Ashanti region has a little over 11,000 students participating in this year's BECE examination. Well, we have 407 centers in the region. So far, we've managed to visit some of them, and then the process at these centers that we did visit has been smooth. There has not been any reports of examination or practice. These students that we engaged prior to them getting to write their first paper told us that they are expecting nothing but the paper to go smooth for them. As I speak to you, they are still on with their first paper, which is supposed to end in no time. And so for Ashanti region, the process has been smooth with about 11,000 students participating in the examination here in the region.
Now, let me bring in Rafiq Salam. What's the mood in your area? You've been visiting some BECE centers. Share with us.
The mood in the Upper West region is that of a lot of expectations from students who are writing the BECE examination in the Upper West region. About over 10,000 students are taking part in this examination. And out of this number, a little over 1,500 are doing it in the West district, where they've been dotted around 7 centers in 4 communities. And so the paper, some 15 minutes to the end of the first paper, which is the English language. And so the mood here is very good, and the students have a lot of expectations regarding the examination.
Let's come here to the Greater Accra region. Prince Kuduka is on the ground. Prince, you visited some centers. What can you report?
This morning, I find myself in the one district of the OT region. This morning, I visited 2 exam centers, the St. Mary's Seminary of Atlolobi and Liquid Senior High School, also in the one district of the OT region. Now, at the time, St. Mary's Seminary from their gathering, so we had senior high coming back in communities run.
Prince, you have to position rightly. We seem to be losing you. You are joining us from the OT region. He's giving us updates on the BECE centers he's visited at the OT region. Prince, position
Hello,
rightly.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, I mean, at the time we got to the St. Mary's Senior High School, also in the OT region here, we were told there are about 1,500 students, candidates expected for today's exams. At the time we got here, most of them are coming in from over the 50 communities that they are coming from. When we spoke to them, most of the concerns they are raising is that they are deprived, they were not getting textbooks to learn with. The teachers told us that, in fact, the headmaster told us that 4 teachers have to share 9 subjects to teach all the home grade students to prepare them for the exam. Because of the depravity in the community, teachers weren't posted here, no one to come here. So they went to hell to prepare the students for this exam. However, everything seems to be going on well in the exam centers that we see. Apart from the difficulties they had in preparing their students for the exam, but they told us that it wasn't easy at all. The students, however, are bent on passing their exams. They said they know what they want in life, and they are going all out for it, no matter their circumstances, no matter the difficulties they face in getting the textbooks, in getting time to learn, because they were not having enough time to learn because of some of them have to close from school, go to farm, and all those difficulties. But still, they are bent on passing the exam. So everything is going on smoothly in the St. Mary's Center and then the Liquid Senior High School Center that I visited earlier this morning.
Thank you so much. Our reporters are on the ground. They'll give us updates as at when they have it. Now let's speak to John Capiz, Head of Public Affairs at WIEC National Office. Thank you for your time here on News 6. First of all, let me find out from you, has government cleared all the amount they owe WIEC?
Good morning and thanks for having me. Government has given us some amount of money. The entire debt hasn't been cleared, but plans are far advanced for them to clear the remainder of the indebtedness to us.
Let's break it down. How much have you received and how much is still being owed?
So far, we've received 55.873 million Ghana cedis, so they're representing about 65%. And so the rest of it is being worked on. I have not done the arithmetic of it right now, but at least what we have is 55.873 million Ghana cedis.
Now, let's look at the preparation so far. How many centers are we having the BECE exams this year? And how many students or candidates do we have?
So in total, we have 2,123 centers across the country, and we have 569,095 candidates who are writing the examinations across the country.
Let's look at concerns about cheating during examination. Just last week, you raised concerns about a new cheating method where pupils would write down the name of their parents and their contact so that they can reach out to them and, stash cash in their papers. What measures are you putting in place to ensure that exam malpractice is reduced in this year's examination?
Right. Usually we have our sensitization programs that we organize across the country to meet a cross-section of the candidates and to sensitize them on the do's and don'ts of the examination. This year, we actually did intensify our interaction with the candidates. We also did some media interactions where we drew the attention of parents to some of the lapses on their part, which results in what the children do, and also admonished them to desist from, providing certain things for their children that will not augur well for them in terms of them being honest in writing the examinations. Now, we have also ensured that all supervisors and invigilators will do a thorough set of all candidates who are coming in to write the examination, so as to ensure that nobody, carries anything that should not be in the examination hall into the halls.
Thank you so much, John Kapis, Head of Public Affairs at WIEC. We'll be monitoring the situation across the country, and we'll come back to you, of course, when the exams are done. Well, you're still watching Newsdesk. We're taking a quick breather. We'll be back with business. Do stay tuned in.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam is now likely to present the media budget review in the 4th week of this month. This is the new date the Finance Ministry is working with, meaning that July 12, which is this Friday as announced by Parliament, will not happen. Here's George Rafi with more.
Deputy Chief Whip in Parliament, Frank Anodompre, giving Parliament a hint of business for this week, announced that the media review of estimates will be presented on 12th of July or July 15, 2024. However, Joy Business understands that will not happen. This is because there's supposed to be a cabinet briefing on this media review that will take place on July 18, 2024. However, the presentation can be done after this date. The Finance Ministry is proposing July 23, 2024 for the media review presentation. However, Parliament rather wants 24th of July, 2024. Sources say maybe there could be a compromise date for this presentation that could happen on July 25, 2024. For some, these developments are not shocking because the Finance Ministry will always propose the date subject to Parliament's approval when it comes to the presentation of the media review or the estimates as captured in the 2024 budget.
Now, government recorded a marginal oversubscription of treasury bills last Friday as interest rates eased. That's according to auction results from the Bank of Ghana. Yes, more.
Total bids of 3.34 billion cedis was higher than the previous week's result. The government accepted all the bids. 77.32% of the bids came from the 91-day bill. About 2.51 billion cedis were tendered and all were accepted. For the 182-day bill, 651.11 million cedis were tendered and the uptake was all. 182.68 million cedis were also offered for the 364-day bill and all were accepted. Meanwhile, interest rates continued to plummet but marginally. The 91-day bill fell by 8 basis points to 24.78%. That of the 182-day bill also dropped by 6 basis points to 26.74%. However, the 364-day bill remained same at 27.78%.
All right, and that's it for this segment. More news after this break.
Thanks for staying with us here on Newsdesk. Now, Diaponko and 2 other communities in the Efeja Kwabra North District wrestle daily to access clean and quality water for the upkeep of their households. In our Thirsty Community series today, Clinton Yeboah visited the communities to uncover the stagnant ponds they drink from, risking their health in an attempt to satisfy their thirst. There's more in this report.
The Ave traditional area, which has a population of about 2,000, constitutes 2 communities, Ave Bogame and Ave Toko. The traditional area is faced with the inadequacy of potable water as both communities are served with just 1 borehole. In Bogame, the residents fall on water from this well and the rains are supplementary sources. Though the water is clean, it has some salt content in it. During my childhood, we relied on streams in the bushes until they constructed the wall for us. But the population has increased. The boreholes constructed were not producing water. We are suffering and appealing to the government for help. The situation is more dire in Avetoko, where 3 boreholes constructed in the community have run faulty. The residents partly survive on a stream on the outskirts of the community, which contains unwholesome water. The women fetch the water in tanks to avoid muddying it. When it stops raining, we have to dredge the area for water, or else we won't get water to use at home. This borehole facility, which was constructed by an individual to operate on a commercial basis, is sport and hence unable to produce water. The lack of enough potable water has been a source of worry to traditional and political authorities in the Ave traditional area. We are so much in need of potable water. When a treatment plant is installed on the well and mechanized, our problem would be solved, or they can extend the water at Shan to our community. The Ave traditional area is appealing to the government to help the community. It appears Ave traditional area is not part of Ghana because other communities are being provided with potable water. The authorities are hoping the government, philanthropists or non-governmental organizations would come to their aid to resolve the century-old challenge of lack of enough potable water. Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News, Ave.
Well, that's it for News Desk. For more news, please log on to myjoyonline.com. Some top stories there. One arrested over attack on Ayawaso West Walk on MPP office. We'll tell you more about that at 12 p.m. when I come your way with Joy News today. My name is Faustina Savo. Thank you for staying with us.